What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Since I didn't officially do a trip announcement video for this most recent June trip that I took with my husband Andy, I thought it would be fun to sit down and do the Q&A video first before I put up all the vlogs so that you guys can hear some of our plans and kind of how we structured this trip, where we stayed, and all the fun things. So we've got a lot to get through. I asked you guys questions over on Instagram. You guys submitted a lot of questions as usual. So let's just go ahead and dive in. All right, to give a little context for this trip first, this was a 4-night, 5-day adult-only Disney trip with me and my husband Andy. So we did leave our toddler home this time, which I'll share all about how that went. But this was a split stay trip. We did our first 2 nights at the Four Seasons, which was just so unreal. Can't wait to share more about that. And then we moved over and did 2 more nights at the Boardwalk. So let me dive into the first question. Does staying at the Four Seasons feel like you're staying on Disney property? Yes, so the Four Seasons is actually on Disney property. Even though it's not owned by Disney, you are really close to Magic Kingdom. You're about a 5-minute drive. So the resort is located right next to Fort Wilderness. If you're familiar with that location, that's where the Four Seasons is located. So it's in the very back of Disney's private residential community called Golden Oak, and that's where Four Seasons is. So even though it's not technically a Disney resort, it's still on Disney property, and you get all of the same deluxe Disney perks and amenities. So access to early entry, that 60-day dining window, extended evening hours, all of that is still the same. So yeah, we were on property and we were right in the middle of everything. It was really nice. Best part about staying at the Four Seasons. Oh, that is tough to narrow it down to one favorite thing. Probably, I would just say the service in general would have been my favorite thing. From the moment you walk in the door, I mean, you're greeted at Bell Services right when you walk in. They offer to carry in your luggage for you, and then you're escorted to the front check-in desk area, and then you're given your room key. And I mean, it's just, the whole check-in experience is so different than Disney. After we got settled in our room, we went down to the pool for a little bit, and walking into the pool, they have someone greeting you at the entrance, letting you choose where you'd like to sit, and then they lay out your towels for you. They bring you a pitcher of ice water. It's better than an all-inclusive resort. The only thing that would make it better is if it was all-inclusive, just service-wise. And then the pool is right next to the Pool Bar and Grill, PB&G, so they have servers coming to your pool chairs, asking if they can get you anything, bringing you food and drinks, and then they add it to your room bill, so you're not even having to get out your credit card. Like, just the whole experience was unlike anything I had ever done before. And we've done all-inclusive resorts before, and this was just beyond anything we'd ever done. So best part about the Four Seasons is the service. Every person we encountered went above and beyond, even housekeeping and in-room dining service. Every person that worked there, it felt like they were going above and beyond for you. So anyway, I could go on and on about the service piece of it, but that was definitely the best part of staying at the Four Seasons. Do you prefer staying at Four Seasons, or is being in the Disney bubble still the way to go? I would pick Four Seasons every time. I mean, if I could stay at the Four Seasons every trip, I would go there in a heartbeat. I think because they do offer a free shuttle to and from the parks, and you have all of the same Disney resort amenities of early entry and that 60-day dining window, extended evening hours. Like, you're not missing out on any of that by staying at the Four Seasons. So it just feels like you're still getting the Disney experience with an elevated level of service. So again, if I could stay at the Four Seasons on every trip, that would be the way to go. Way better than a Disney resort. I know that sounds so crazy to say, but it's better than a Disney resort. It's incredible. Four Seasons looked so epic. Do you wish you'd saved it at the finale for your trip? A little bit, yes. If I could have structured it to where we started at the Boardwalk and then moved over to the Four Seasons, but just with the way it worked out with my husband's work schedule and the order of how we ended up booking everything with our flights, and this is just kind of how it played out. But if I could go back and restructure things, I would definitely end at the Four Seasons, just because it was such an extravagant experience. I would have started at the Boardwalk and then gone to the Four Seasons for sure. All right, I'm trying to knock out the Four Seasons questions first. So would you take Ellie to the Four Seasons? Absolutely, yes. This resort felt so kid-friendly. I was honestly surprised at how kid-friendly it felt because it feels so luxurious. You would assume that, oh, it's, you know, this isn't a place for toddlers or babies or young kids, but they make it so kid-friendly. They have a character breakfast in the mornings. They have a splash pad, a family-focused pool with a movie night. There's a kids center with, you know, all kinds of games and just everything that you could possibly imagine where you can drop off your kids and mom and dad can go sit by the pool. So they make it very kid-friendly, and they had a pretty extensive kids menu. Of course, that's what I look at, you know, what do they have on the kids menu? But they had more options than a Disney kids menu, which I was really surprised by. Normally on a Disney kids menu, you'll find 3 or 4 options maybe. But here, there were over a dozen options just on the kids menu. So they make this resort so focused towards kids, and I saw so many little kids there, so many strollers, so many young families. So again, I would absolutely take Ellie to this resort, and hopefully one day we can go back with her because I would love to experience the family element of this resort and kind of, I don't know, take in that side of the experience as well. Best way to travel to the Four Seasons from Magic Kingdom area hotel. So anyone can come over and visit the Four Seasons. You don't have to be staying there to access the hotel. You do have to have a dining reservation though. So if you just drive up to the gate and say, you know, hey, we want to take a look around, they are not going to let you in, unfortunately. But if you have a reservation at one of their restaurants, then you are free to walk around, check out the resort in addition to your reservation. So little tip there. But best way to get to the resort from Magic Kingdom or Magic Kingdom Hotel. So there's no specific transportation from Disney that's gonna take you to the Four Seasons. I would recommend either getting an Uber or a minivan. Those are gonna be your 2 best options. I can't really think of another option. Yeah, it's just gonna be Uber or minivan. All right, last Four Seasons question. Does the Four Seasons bus drop you off at the TTC for Magic Kingdom or at the front? So they do drop you off at the TTC, which is kind of a bummer. I know, you'd think, surely the Four Seasons that they would get, you know, priority access to the front of Magic Kingdom, but they drop you off the TTC because for some reason, even though it is an on-property resort, they're still kind of looped in with the charter buses. So that's the section that they drop you off at. But for the other parks, it's really nice because at Hollywood Studios and Epcot, they drop you off in the Disney bus area, so that same location. And then for Animal Kingdom, it's actually closer because they drop you off at the Uber drop off and pickup area, and that's where the charter bus pickup area is as well. So that's actually probably the closest drop off and pickup location out of all 4 parks is Animal Kingdom. So we really liked just walking right out of the front gate and there was the Four Seasons bus. It was like a 2-minute walk. So that was really nice. But for Magic Kingdom, yes, they do drop you off at the TTC. Moving on to some other questions. What is your favorite DVC rental thinking of staying at the Polynesian? My favorite DVC resort, well, I have a couple. I have a few. My top 3, how about that? I would say Wilderness Lodge. So you have Copper Creek, Boulder Ridge. Those are kind of looped into one resort. And then Old Key West. I love that I can stay in a 1-bedroom there for the same price, if not less, than a studio at Copper Creek or Grand Floridian. So really nice that I can get a 1-bedroom at such a low price point there. And then I love Grand Floridian. I just love their deluxe studios and everything about that resort is incredible. I love the location, just the atmosphere there. So those would be my top 3, Grand Floridian, Old Key West, and Wilderness Lodge. What are the best playgrounds at the Disney resorts? So not all Disney resorts have playgrounds, which you'd think they would all offer something, but there's only a handful that have playgrounds. So one, I know that we just stayed at the Boardwalk, so they do have a playground. Caribbean Beach has a really great playground. I know that Port Orleans French Quarter has a playground, and There has to be another playground somewhere that I'm not thinking of. Let me know in the comments down below. I'm sure I could look it up, but comment down below, what are the other playgrounds that I'm missing at Disney resorts? Art of Animation, I know they have a couple of smaller playgrounds that are really fun and themed, and just, you know, that's a whole experience type resort. But yeah, let me know down below, what are the other playgrounds that I'm missing? Those are the ones that I can think of off the top of my head. Do you know when the Boardwalk Villa renovation will be done? May, I hope. So they are starting this fall, is from what I've heard. Of course, that could always be delayed. They could decide to start tomorrow, who knows? But from what I've heard, they are starting Boardwalk Villa renovations this fall, hoping to be done by early to mid 2024. So it could be done around May, potentially. Again, who knows? But what you could always do if you're staying there in May and they're still working on it is just make sure to request one of the new renovated rooms, because I'm sure they're gonna do it in like sections by floor or, you know, something like that. So I would just make sure to request a renovated room if you're staying there early next year, because I'm sure, you know, if they start this fall, it should be done early next year. That would be my assumption. Still watch the shows like Happily Ever After, or do they lose their appeal with frequent trips? That is a great question. I would say we're more inclined to watch the fireworks from more unique spots rather than staking out a spot right in front of the castle, or, you know, right around the World Showcase, like pressed up against the gate with everybody else. Like, we'd rather hang back and watch the fireworks from a less crowded area, or find a new spot, or watch from a restaurant, or just something like that. So it's not that Happily Ever After has lost its appeal by any means. We absolutely love that fireworks show. It's our favorite, but we're not gonna be standing in front of the castle in the crowd and, you know, doing that whole like waiting 45 minutes for the fireworks to start thing. Like, we're gonna be back in Storybook Circus, or back behind the castle, or over in Adventureland, just somewhere where you have a different perspective, but still a great view of the fireworks, and then there's no one around. And then same thing for Epcot, you know, I would rather head back over by the Beach Club and watch the fireworks. Or this past time we got off of Cosmic Rewind and the fireworks were going off, and we watched in that area by Test Track. So we enjoy watching the fireworks, just not with all the crowds and, you know, in the typical spots that you would watch them. Did your daughter know you went to Disney without her? I mean, I think so. We told her that we went to Disney, but she didn't seem very bothered by it. I don't know if it's because she's gone so often that maybe she just was like, okay, cool, whatever. Like, you know, I'll get to go again at some point. Or that she's just 3 years old and it didn't really faze her. I don't know. So she knew that we went without her, but she didn't seem too upset about it. Not a question from this trip, but for prior ones, how do you handle nap time on arrival day? So our usual plan is that we would do an early flight. We would get there around 10, 11 a.m. We would do some pool time and then just hope and pray for an early check-in. Most of the time we get in our room before 2:30, so we're able to just do a late nap, and then we can hang out at the pool from, you know, 11 to 2, or, you know, whatever that time frame is. And I make sure to check the app. We always make some kind of purchase. Like, I make sure that the resort knows that we are there waiting on our room. I'll go to the front desk and ask once, if not twice, kind of a status update on our room. That way the room assigner knows that we are waiting. So that would be my biggest tip for getting an early check-in. If you just go straight to the park, you're probably not gonna get a room text until later that evening. But if you're at the resort, you're making a purchase for, you know, a coffee or a lunch, or you go to the gift shop, you go to the front desk and you're chatting with the check-in cast members, like, you'll probably get into your room a little bit earlier than if you had just gone straight to the park. So that's my biggest tip for getting an early check-in. And how we handle nap time with our toddler is we'll just kill some time at the resort, at the pool, splash pad, playground, grab lunch, and then I'm just constantly checking my phone, like please let our room be ready, and then we'll just do a late nap. Ooh, okay, here's a question I missed from the Four Seasons section. Does the Four Seasons ever run a deal on rooms where it's not $1,000 a night? I have seen a couple of deals. I know they have a Florida resident discount on their website. They recently did a promotion where you get your 4th night free when you book 3 nights. I'm trying to think if I've seen any other deals go on. I know they have a 25% off deal if you book in advance. So if you prepay for your room, you get a discount. You can always check Priceline. Sometimes you can find some last minute deals on Priceline for the Four Seasons. So there's a few different ways that you can get the cost down. So just check around, but definitely check the promotions tab on their website to see what deals they have going on. How far out do DVC points book? Thinking of May of 24. So you can book 11 months in advance. That is as far out as you can book with Disney Vacation Club. I'm going to the Boardwalk in September. What did you like and dislike about it? The biggest pro of the Boardwalk is the location, that you are just a 10-minute walk over to Epcot. It's about 15 to 20 minutes over to Hollywood Studios. You also have the boat options. You're right on the Skyliner. I mean, it is such a great location if you spend a lot of time at Epcot and Hollywood Studios. And then the dining options here are just endless because you not only have access to everything at the Boardwalk, but you can also walk over to the Yacht and Beach Club. And then of course you have everything over at Epcot. So the options are just endless and it's amazing. I love that whole area. It's one of my favorites. My biggest dislike about this resort would be that everything is outside. Apart from Carousel Coffee, if you want to get some food, whether it's a table service meal or a quick service, like just grab and go sandwich from the Boardwalk Deli, you have to go outside to get it and nothing is covered. So if it's pouring down rain, there's no other options. So that's probably the biggest bummer about the Boardwalk. And then there's really no shaded covered area. So in the middle of the day, you are just roasting in the sun. So there's no great place if you have little ones. You know, I was thinking about where would we go if I had Ellie right now and she needed to get some wiggles out. You know, they have this great open space green lawn area, but it's just blazing hot because there's no relief from the sun anywhere on the Boardwalk. So that would be the biggest downfall, in my opinion, is that there's nothing covered. I wish they would have some kind of overhang, at least to give some covered option to, you know, make your way around, but you know, you're just kind of out in the rain if you want to get some food. Adult only trip recommendations for dining. I mean, of course, what we just did on this trip, we loved everything. We did dinner at Ravello's at the Four Seasons, which was incredible. Again, you don't have to be staying at the Four Seasons to make a reservation here. The food was phenomenal. The service was just over the top. And then we also did Citricos for the first time on this trip, which I had been dying to try this one, and we finally did. And you guys, this is gonna be a repeat meal for sure. This is better than Narcoossee's. I loved Citricos, the food, the service. I love how they renovated everything. The atmosphere and the vibe of the restaurant now is so beautiful. Everything about it. Definitely check out Citricos if you are looking for kind of a fancier dinner, you're celebrating something, it's an adult only trip. I would go Citricos over Narcoossee's for sure. How does DVC check-in work? So if you have rented DVC points, the reservation will pop up in your My Disney Experience account exactly the same as it would any other Disney resort reservation, and the check-in process online is exactly the same. So nothing looks different. You don't have to do anything different. You can still check in directly through the app and it'll send you a text when your room is ready and you can go straight to your room. So whether you've booked through Disney or you are renting DVC points, it's exactly the same process. Okay, 2-part question. My hubby has a work trip in Orlando in August. We're planning one adult only day at the parks. Should we do a full day at Epcot or hopper and do Hollywood Studios? We're staying at Pop Century. If you just have the one day, personally, I would do a park hopper, and I would start over at Hollywood Studios, and you can knock out a bunch of the rides, and then, you know, after 2 p.m., just head on over to Epcot, and then you can enjoy some of the food booths and do a couple more rides over at Epcot in the afternoon, and then you can kind of pick and choose which fireworks show you want to see that night, if you'd rather do Fantasmic or if you'd rather do Epcot Forever, if that's still the show that they're doing at that time. So that would be my personal choice. If you just have the one day, I would split it up and do the park hopper. Tips for doing Disney with 15-person family, possible to dine together. Yes, you can absolutely make a dining reservation for 15 people. I would recommend calling Disney and making the reservation with someone on the phone with that large of a party. That way they're able to make sure that they can accommodate you at the right restaurant. And then for anything else planning wise, honestly, it's gonna look exactly the same. You could always work with a travel agent if you just kind of want to take the guesswork out of it. But if you're thinking specifically about making dining reservations, I would just call Disney and do it directly over the phone. That would probably be the easiest way to do it. Boardwalk tips and things to do for a 2-year-old. So I would head over to the Luna Park pool, which is their main pool. They have 2 different little kiddie pools. They're not necessarily like this big splash pad. I wish they had a really fun, extravagant splash pad area, but it's just like a little kiddie pool with water, you know, so they have something at least. But there's also a playground, which is really nice. And then I would wait till the sun goes down, wait till it gets a little bit cooler, and you can always do the movie out on the lawn. They always have Disney movies playing out in that green space area. They do the campfire where you can roast marshmallows, and it's just fun to walk around at nighttime, again, kind of avoiding the heat a little bit to where it's dark. And you could also just take the boat around Crescent Lake and make stops, and you don't even have to get off the boat. You could just do one loop and then head back to Boardwalk. That would be really fun for a 2-year-old. I know my daughter would love just going on a boat ride. So even if you don't have a park ticket or a park reservation or anything, you can just ride the boat or go ride the Skyliner. So that's really fun to do during the day, and it's something that's covered and shaded. But yeah, if you're gonna enjoy the Boardwalk with little ones, I would wait till it cools off kind of later in the evening, and then you can do the campfire and the movie at night. But yeah, that's what I would do with little ones at Boardwalk. Here for all of the ins and outs of renting DVC, do you do it for all or most of your trips? Well, you've come to the right place. If you're looking for tips on renting DVC points, I'm definitely your girl. So when it comes to how we decide when we're gonna rent DVC points and for what trip, I would say for most of our trips we rent points, but not all of them. There are some trips, like on our last trip before this one, we stayed at the Wilderness Lodge, and I really wanted to experience club level. So we booked a regular hotel room, and the discount was really great just through Disney. They were doing that 25 or 30% off discount, so I got a really great deal on those rooms. If I'm planning something really last minute and I can't find a confirmed reservation that matches up with the dates that I'm looking for, then that would be a scenario where I would just book directly through Disney. So it just depends on the trip and what resort we're wanting to stay at, what availability looks like, what deals I can find through Disney, if there's a confirmed reservation that kind of fits what we're looking for. So yeah, it just depends. But I would say for a lot of our trips, we do rent DVC points. Overall Boardwalk thoughts: did you enjoy the resort compared to other deluxe resorts? I could do a full video just on the Boardwalk and pros and cons and my thoughts. And you know, if that's something you'd be interested in, let me know down below. But overall thoughts, I've always enjoyed the Boardwalk. This is our second time staying there. So I knew kind of what to expect going into it. And for me, the theming of the resort isn't my favorite. Like, it doesn't make my top 3, top 5 Disney resorts, but I do love the location. And for this trip, I knew that we were gonna be spending a good chunk of time at Epcot. So it made sense for us to be in the Epcot area, which is why I was really excited about the Boardwalk. I wasn't too thrilled about the rooms. They definitely need some help. They are getting renovated soon, but we were gonna be there before the renovation. But other than the rooms, you know, I'm trying to not think too much about the rooms because, again, I know that they're getting renovated here in the next few months. Apart from that, it probably wouldn't be my go-to resort. There's just other resorts I like better. And I know that I mentioned, you know, the main pro being the location and all of the transportation options and amenities and dining is, you know, that part is awesome. And then the main con is that it's not covered. You're just roasting out in the sun if you want to spend time on the boardwalk during the day. All of the dining is difficult to get to depending on where your room is located at the resort. You know, it's pretty long. It kind of wraps around the boardwalk. So if you're on this end and you want to get to this restaurant, you know, it's, you know, a little bit of a hike to get there. So not the end of the world, but if you love Epcot and you know we're gonna spend a lot of time at this park, we want that 10-minute walk, just really easy access and, you know, direct access over to Hollywood Studios, like this may be a great resort for you. And I know I have friends who just love the theming of this resort. This is the only resort they stay at. So it just depends. Everyone has a different vibe that they're looking for at a Disney resort. And for me personally, it's not the boardwalk, but I think it's still a great choice if Epcot is your priority. How did you train the hubs to take such cute pics? Okay, this is actually kind of funny, but what I do, if there's a picture that I have in my mind, like a vision for what I see, I'll take the picture and show him exactly, okay, this is what I want. This is where I'm gonna be. Can you do this and recreate this? So that is my number one tip, ladies, if you want your husband to take cute pictures of you, is you take the picture first without you in it, show him exactly what you want and just let him recreate it. That has helped a ton. So, and portrait mode. Portrait mode can change everything. So those are my top 2 tips. Okay, the first part to this question, best lounge for date night or signature dining. What we did on our last night, this was one of my favorite nights of the entire trip. We started at Enchanted Rose and we grabbed a drink, or you could grab an appetizer, anything. And then we had dinner at Citricos. And because they are right next door to each other, I was able to check in from the app while we were at Enchanted Rose, and then we just sat there until our table was ready, and then we walked on over to dinner. So it was beautiful, the whole experience. I think starting at Enchanted Rose and then moving over to Citricos just makes it feel like this really fancy date night. Of course, we weren't wearing like super fancy clothes. We were in shorts and a t-shirt, but it feels like a very fancy experience, and that would be one of my favorite spots and best recommendations for a date night. And then the second part to this question is park hopper for a family with a toddler. It totally depends. How many days are you gonna be there for? What parks do you wanna prioritize? It just depends on how your family does Disney. Do you like the go, go, go kind of thing? I would recommend the park hopper in that case. Or if you really wanna just slow down, take it in, you know, enjoy more of a slower pace, then I would just do the single day park ticket and skip the park hopper. It just depends on how you wanna do Disney, you know, everyone does it differently. And, you know, if you have limited time, I would go for the park hopper. But if you're there for 5 days, I would just skip it and just spend full days at each park. All right, my camera battery is about to die, so I'm gonna call it right here. Thank you guys so much for all of the awesome questions. If I missed anything, let me know down below in the comments what questions you guys have, and I would love to keep chatting with you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.